A lot of families will come in thinking, well, especially the ones that are, they know this is the right thing to do, but none of us came into this world thinking that this is what we're going to do for our folks, right? So everybody thinks we're going to be healthy and strong. We get to live at home forever, or, oh, I can take care of, my folks, or I can take care of my husband or my wife.
I had an adult child say one time, there's no way you're not going to be able to care for my mom like I can. We're never going to be able to love on her like you. You're her child. You're going to be able to love her more. You love her more. We're not going to try to. But from a caring standpoint, you're only one person. We've got a whole team here that can help her. So we will be able to care for her. We'll be able to help her a lot by being around there, fresh people, 7x24, and can care for her all the time.
When caregiving feels overwhelming and the system feels impossible to navigate, this is your guide. Here, you'll learn ways to navigate long-term care planning, find real support for caregiving, and prepare you for the road ahead. I'm your host, Lindsay Friedman, and now you're not in this alone. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of LT Care Nav's Care Compass. I'm your host, Lindsay Friedman, and we are here today with Braun and Sandy Bauer of CarePatrol of KCMO. So we are super excited to have them here. And as always, Ron, Sandy, we always start with tell us what you do and then individually who you are and why you do it.
Yeah. So we are CarePatrol with KCMO. We're a senior advisor group who specializes in helping seniors navigate through the overwhelmingness of trying to find senior living, whether that's independent living, assisted living, memory care, even if they just want to stay at home with home health or hospice. Our goal is just to provide resources to families. Our services are completely free, no charge to the family. In all candidness, we do get paid by our contracts, but with communities, but our goal is just to provide just education and resources and help seniors through this crazy world. So a little bit about me. I got into this business through multiple ways of helping seniors, whether that was through military claims, helping seniors with their claims, but ultimately ending up being a sales and marketing director with senior living, assisted living, and memory care. I also got my administrator license in assisted living. So I do still have that active license at a small community here in the Northland, but I came into CarePatrol and it was just a blessing. I mean, I just love helping seniors. I got my education or my degree in elementary education and thought that was the way to go, but really, truly it wasn't. I wanted to be on the other side. Seniors just have such beautiful, wonderful stories. And so often in this world, we find seniors just kind of getting forgotten about. Our world is so busy and people just get so active. And yes, we love our parents, we love our grandparents, and we want the best for them, but sometimes we're just too busy to do that, or we just don't have the time. And so, or we just don't know. There are so many resources out there and people just don't know about them. And so they're lost and they have no idea where to go. And they end up putting their family members in places that, let's face it, there are places out there where the TV shows really depict not a pretty picture. And when there's an emergency or when we're out of time, that's sometimes where families go. And it breaks my heart because they get forgotten about or they don't get the right care. And so being in a position like this is just truly a blessing because we get to help so many people find that right place and what meets their needs and helps them to have that better quality of life and just really enjoy. We also get to help the families become family members again, those people who are caregivers, and we see the caregiver burnout and they end up being frustrated and angry and just being allowed to give them back that I just want to be your son or daughter. I just want to have those memories with you is so rewarding. And so it's just such a blessing. So that's a little bit about me.
I love that. Ron, how about you?
Well, I started with CarePatrol. We bought the franchise. My wife and I bought the franchise 2019, so a little over 7 years now. I think we were drawn to CarePatrol via my mom. My mom had dementia, and so when she went into the hospital one time, and the hospital said she came in there for a pain with her heart, but that was fine, but she couldn't remember where she lived. And so my brother and I, we drove all over Saskatchewan looking for a place for her. with nothing but more than a stack of papers and a couple locations on where to try to find something. And so when this opportunity came up a few years later, having that empathy and helping people get through that same kind of situation was what drew me to CarePatrol. And so my role here in CarePatrol, Sandy does most of the business development, trying to find new contracts or new clients and new referral sources. But I like working with the families. It's sitting down with them, and there's so many different stories that they have. And as Sandy said, helping families get back to, being a son or daughter, or being, not having to worry about being a caregiver, and helping people find the best place for them. And, ultimately, a lot of times going above and beyond and making sure that they get the needs they have, they get what they need, because a lot of them don't have a lot of extra resources around to help them. And, we can always usually try to find the resources that will help them get where they need to be.
No, I love that. And your story is really typical, right? The family that is taking care of mom, and then there's an emergency, and all of a sudden you're told you need something different, and you're like driving around freaking out what to do.
Yeah.
So when families come to you, what is the first thing you sit down with them and do? And how do they get to you? Are they already frazzled? And what's the first step?
Well, it varies. We get the rare breed that are long-term planning, and they're thinking, well, we might need something in 2 years, and so maybe we should sit down and look at something now, which is great. Every time I do a presentation, I'm always saying, if you take one thing away from this, it's a lot better to plan than to react. But sometimes life gets in the way of that, and we don't get to do that. So a lot of people come to us, and they are pretty frazzled, and they've been told mom's in rehab and that she can't go home, and we just received notification that she needs a new place. So they're freaking out, and I've only got a week to find a place, and a week. Well, hey, we got plenty of time. That's lots of time for us. So we help calm them down. I think a lot of ways what we do is we're in the stress reduction business. We help people just kind of just relax. We've got this. We've done it. I always tell people that any job you ever do, if you do it once, it can be difficult. If you've done it hundreds of times, it becomes a lot easier. And so if you're walking through that with families, we just when we first sit down with them, we just try to remove some of that stress to get them to relax a little bit and say, hey, we got this. We'll find, a place for you. Will get the right place, and we'll, even have a few smiles while we're doing it, and it's always laughter. There's a lot of truth to the idiom, laughter is the best medicine. So try to have and joke around with people, but take it seriously, and help them find the best place for them and for their loved ones. So, yeah.
And I love that. I love that you said it's the stress reduction business, because I do think this is one of the most stressful things that any family can have to go through, the transition, and also the caregiving piece of it. So you keep saying, like, for mom or dad, are your primary clients when they come to you, is it usually the adult children who are seeking help? Or do you ever find a senior who's like, I just need to do this. I need to take the burden off my kids?
We can do it both. I mean, there's both. I mean, we do work a lot with the adult children, but there's some seniors that are just looking for assistance as well, and you just sometimes the seniors have reached out because they don't have adult children. Those are the ones that we tend to. I keep telling myself I'm never going this deep again and helping somebody, knowing full well that I will, and we'll do the next one. And when we're, so somebody doesn't have resources to help them where they're at, them, we'll either we help them, and we find other people that in the overall community that can help them as well to get where they need to be.
They love that you kind of are stepping in. You become the solo agers adult son.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, we had a client one time that she was moving back to be closer to her family in Wisconsin. So I drove her halfway to Wisconsin, met the family halfway down. I was loaded up. So I thought we were like loading up my truck. It was like the Beverly Hillbillies driving down the road there, showing where we were. I don't know, probably aging myself there. Beverly Hillbillies was a show back in the 60s. You guys probably don't know it. But
I
the,
do. Do you see
I watch it all the time. I still do.
yeah. Yeah. So no, but yeah, we just drove up. I went Spotify on, playing 1950s music all the way, and we were singing away and getting there. We met the family about halfway to Wisconsin and moved everything over to their car, and we're on our way.
I absolutely love that. And I've found so many people from CarePatrol go above and beyond in that exact way. Like, you're not just placing and going. You are literally becoming like the hand that is holding them through the whole journey. And I will tell you, this might be the most extreme story I've heard of that, but what a wonderful story and what a wonderful gift you gave that family.
They were pretty happy. The only downside was that when we came back, when my daughter helped me clean out her apartment at the end, and we found out we forgot her husband because he was in an urn back in the back of the closet. So I learned how to ship an urn after that too. So yeah, you can't do it by UPS. It has to be through the post office.
Right.
Fun fact for everybody else to learn out there.
That the good to know, but you really do. I really love how you guys really take this stance of anything we can do and everything we can do to make the transition easier on you. Sandy, so you've been in the space, right? You've worked the assisted living. When you see families come in, what is their biggest concern about that transition? And how do you work with the family to understand that it's going to be okay?
It's hard. I mean, a lot of families will come in thinking, well, especially the ones that are, they know this is the right thing to do, but none of us came into this world thinking that this is what we're going to do for our folks, right? So everybody thinks we're going to be healthy and strong. We get to live at home forever, or I can take care of, my folks, or I can take care of my husband or my wife. But when they come in, the things they're looking for, obviously, they want to make sure that care is priority. They want to make sure the place is clean, that it feels like home, that it's going to make their loved one feel comfortable or as close to home as possible. And so, really, just giving them that comfort level. One of the things that you mentioned that you love about Care Patrol, one of the things that I fell in love with too, that hand holding. I mean, Ron goes on every single tour with those families, that warm connection, that warm handoff. We're not giving their information out to a whole bunch of people and just giving them, okay, go. Now you guys call and find this out for yourself. I mean, he really walks each person step by step. And that's such a great transitional piece because he creates those relationships with families and it helps bridge that gap of and it helps kind of alleviate some of that anxiety because they're anxious, they're scared. You're getting ready to leave your loved one in the hands of people you've never met and trust that they're going to take care of your loved one the way that you would take care of them or the way that they deserve to be cared for. And so by having that relationship with Ron or myself or any of our other colleagues, it's just such a blessing because again, it's that warm handoff. We go through the tours with them, and that's what families are looking for is just that peace of mind. There are people that come in that are just frazzled and they're just not understanding at all what this is going to look like. Trying to get families to understand, usually that first 2 weeks, they're the hardest. And being honest, open and honest and very candid and transparent, I think is the absolute best thing you can do because we don't want to lie to anybody. We don't want to give them a false, a falsehood of, oh, everything's going to be great. It may not, your loved one may fall again in the first 2 weeks. And maybe that's why you're bringing them to a community because they fall a lot. Well, you can't stop somebody from falling, and that's just a part of life. But we can encourage them to understand and show them that the staff here are going to do their very best to protect them and they're going to love on them and they're going to get them the help and just having that 24-hour oversight that maybe we can potentially stop a fall or maybe we can ease that fall and they don't get hurt as badly. But just being honest. But yeah, just explaining to families, that first 2 weeks are going to be the hardest. That's usually when you're going to get all those phone calls. I don't like it here. Come get me. They're holding me prisoner. We hear that a lot. But just again, that encouragement. Also, just encouraging the family to be involved. Again, going back to now you get to be that son or daughter. Now you get to be that husband or wife and not the caregiver. So it's okay. And it's okay not to feel guilty. You can go home, you can sleep, and then come back and enjoy a meal with that person or come do an activity with them so that you can create bonds and relationships too with the staff and the communities that they've moved their loved ones in so that they can see for themselves. Or even just encourage them if you'd like, you can spend the night and see how things go. And, some families that works really well for, some it's not a good idea. But again, just trying to help them understand that this is a good place. I think too for Ron and I, because we both Ron with his experience with his mom and we've both been in this for so long that and we've had our own family, situations. I think that helps because we can come alongside them with a true understanding of what caregiving looks like. It's not, just lip service. We truly understand the caregiver burnout. We truly understand the burdens of everything these families are going through. And so, even just sharing, personal stories with them and helping them to, again, just have that trust level, it's amazing. And it goes a long way.
Something that not many people have touched on, and I really would love to kind of chat with you about it, is the first 2 weeks are being the hardest. So I have a friend who used Care Patrol Cleveland to place his mom
Yay!
very recently on into memory care. And he asked me, he said, "What do we tell her?" And he has asked me during these first weeks, "What do I say when she said, like, she's having a really hard time adjusting?" And Care Patrol Cleveland is being great, but he said, interestingly enough, the assisted living is not really helping walk the family through the right thing to say. So, what would you say to people who are doing this who don't have the right thing to say?
A lot of it does depend on, I think, the situation and also the person or the family, right? Did that loved one come from rehab in or a hospital stay into memory care? Are they coming straight from home? Because sometimes that's going to change the answer. I always encourage families, excuse me, to never ever use a time frame. It's amazing. Families will say, well, she's not going to remember anyways. So if I just tell her, you're going to stay here for, 30 days and then we'll see if you're okay to come back home, she won't remember that I said that. And so it'll be okay. No, absolutely not. It's not okay. It's amazing how the brain works. And even though a lot of people's short-term memory is that's the first to go is your short-term memory, they will hold on to that. And so really you're setting them up for a huge lie, number one. So now you've broken that trust. But in 30 days, they're going to be hounding you saying, okay, it's time to come home. So I always encourage them, don't ever use dates or times. I think sometimes it's really helpful just to explain to the person, this is somewhere that we can come to get some additional help. Again, just going back to being truthful with them, in a way that they're able to understand. Mom, I love you, and unfortunately, I want you to have the best care possible, and unfortunately, I just can't provide that for you at home right now. So we're going to have these folks take care of you and help me provide you a better, quality of life, or help me with caring for you better. Things like that. That can be helpful. Again, if it's coming from rehab, sometimes you do have to use some verbiage, if they're coming from rehab. Well, this is going to help you get a little bit better. You've been working so hard in rehab. And so now we're going to come here and they're going to continue to help you, get strong and provide for you what I can't. But again, just, using those true, honest answers, but not providing so much information that you're going to set yourself up for failure in the end. So,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and I'd add to that. I mean, just I had an interesting thing. A lot of people will always say, and this helps both the caregiver and the resident. I had a adult child say one time, "Well, there's no way you're not going to be able to care for my mom like I can." And the sales director at that time, he said, "Well," he said, "I might beg to differ a little bit." He said, "I We're never going to be able to love on her like you. You're her child. You're going to be able to love her more. You love her more. That's We're not going to try to. But from a caring standpoint." You're only one person. We've got a whole team here that can help her. So we will be able to care for her. We'll be able to help her a lot by being around there, fresh people, 7 by 24, and can care for her all the time. And then when you come in, then your only job then is to be providing the love and not the care. And so that kind of really resonated with that particular family, just knowing that, helping both the resident, knowing that she was going there to get, because it was getting to be more care for her daughter, but also it was good for the daughter, because she realized, okay, yeah, you're right. There's just I can't replicate myself that much, and that does reduce my job to more just being the loving rather than the caregiver all the time. So that helped that particular family. But it's all, as Sandy says, it really will vary by the individual sometimes too, how you communicate that and what they need to hear. So
I also think some of the issues when we think about going to a home, we're thinking about like in our heads, these like scary nursing homes of like
mm,
the 1960s, right? These like sanitariums. And then most people come in and like see the assisted livings and they realize like how beautiful they are. Do you see people and families who come in and all of a sudden have these like aha moments of like, wait a second, mom, this does not look so bad. Like you're gonna get like your house cleaned and food and like waiters at every meal. It's kind of
yeah,
sounds right.
we get the children going, how do I sign up for this? This looks awesome. But
Exactly.
for the
How do I
for
move in?
I call I call those FUD tours, and so I
Mhm.
create we don't have enough acronyms, so I said I thought I would create another one. So the FUD to me is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So they're FUD removal tours. So even when people are a long ways out, I'm doing some next week. The guy said, I don't want to move for a couple of years, but I want to get that picture of the nursing home out of his head so that when we start thinking about the timeline, that he's been around and he's been several communities and sees how much fun they're having there and what they're doing and how nice they actually are, so that it's not so scary. You get the fear and it's not so uncertain about it. And that's not for me and all that. So I call those FUD removal tours. And so we start them. Those a lot of times happen very early on in the process, just to help people, just to help seniors and families sometimes too, kind of get on board with the whole idea.
And
I
one of the
love
things that I love, just to add to that, part of what Ron does is through that discovery time with the families and the resident, the client, he's learning, okay, what is important to you? Are activities important to you? Do you really love to play bingo 3 times a week? Is food important to you? Is a religious service? Ron and I are both certified in aligned care, which is knowing the 8 dimensions of well-being and caregiving. And so really we hone in on that. And so a lot of these communities are so open and generous to allowing those clients, come have a meal with us, come play that bingo game with us. And so in learning that about them through that discovery, we can also help them find the communities that are truly going to provide exactly what they're looking for. And then we can encourage them. You know what? They're having a great happy hour this Thursday, and your mom loves music and cocktails and food. And so why don't we go have a happy hour together so that you guys can see as a family how fun this actually is to live here? Or if church is important, we can encourage them. Well, they have church service every, you know, Tuesday or and Sunday morning. Why don't you go and enjoy that with them so that you can get a feel for that? So it really truly is a great way. We've got great relationships with the communities, but also just so important getting that information and knowing our people so that we genuinely can give them an environment that is going to provide that quality of life.
I think all of these things you said really come down to finding a local advisor. And so families who are out there like searching and saying, listening to us going, oh, well, I'm going to go look at that local community and see. I would highly recommend everyone find their local care patrol, their local advisor, because the little things that are even the big things, like if you need a ride from Kansas City to like Milwaukee or something, Ron's your guy, right?
Yeah. Well, let's not advertise that too much. It's not something I want to do a lot of, but especially the price of
Okay.
gas now, we don't want to do that anymore, right? So
So maybe
crazy.
not that far, but you can see
No,
how
no, that is it. It's something where you get involved, and like I said, every time I do it, I say I'm not going to do it again, but I always knowing that I'm going to. So I like to lie. I just lie to myself.
well, and now people see what you're willing to do, and that's why don't just Google and allow somebody who's going to answer a phone in a city far, far away from yours to do because there's so
Exactly.
many little intricate details that you need to know about this process. So, how about we leave everyone with final words and where to find you? And remember, Ron's not an Uber, but obviously he goes above and beyond.
Sometimes I feel like an Uber too. But so to find us, carepatrol.com/KCMO for our website. You can always phone me. I'm as long as I'm still awake, I'm available for answering calls because, questions come at all kinds of days. Sometimes it's nice just to get an answer, to call or text me. My cell phone is never very far from me. So that's 816-535-9966. You can call me just if any kind of questions you have. Final thoughts. I said, one of the things we do, it's better to plan than to react. I mean, I have a lot of different sayings. So, that's one of the main ones. And the other one I would say, I've never seen anybody move too soon. I've seen a lot of people wait too long. And we've got a family now that is in a situation that, unfortunately, they waited too long and they're really putting themselves in a corner as far as what to do. And it's, the final one is I quote the movie The Shawshank Redemption. There's a line in that says, you're going to get busy living or get busy dying. I don't really say that to clients, but it's more like the existing but not living families out there. There's a lot of people that are sitting there and they're just watching TV and they're just getting up. They watch TV, they have early breakfast, or watch TV, have lunch, they watch TV. They're not getting out. They don't want to be a bother to their family. But there's so much quality of life that they could have if they have the opportunity to do that. And just try to see what the options are. Our job is really to help people understand their options. It doesn't cost anything to talk to us. We like to talk. So have us come in and we'll talk. Make sure you understand your options and enjoy some of that quality of life. There's a lot of it yet to be had. And we'd love to help people to do that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Anything from you, Sandy?
Really, it's what Ron said too. I mean, just there are so many great communities, and I just encourage, if your loved one is still very active and getting out and playing golf, going to church, doing things in the community, that's great. But if your loved one is really starting to pull back, losing their friends, and now they're starting to stay at home and not be so active, really, truly, don't wait. Give us a call. Let us show the resources that are out there and available. Let's give them back that wonderful life that they can have. And like Ron said, I mean, we've got people on waiting lists for years, but they're acting early enough to know, and they get to choose where they want to go. If you're really concerned that mom or dad or husband or wife may not like it there, well, then let them come look at it themselves now while they can decide and make that choice and do it together. But really, truly, just giving people the quality of life is what we're all about, and just helping people to navigate. And so we love what we do. And I definitely think that you should go local so that we can have that relationship.
I totally agree. I second that one.
Yeah.
So thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Lindsay.
yeah, and thanks everyone for listening, and we will be back next week. Thanks.
All right, that's a wrap for today. Until next time, remember, you're not alone. Take things one step at a time, stay centered, and trust your compass. See you next time on LT Care Now's Care Compass.